Epilepsy, also known as a seizure disorder, is a brain condition that causes recurring seizures. There are many types of epilepsy. In some people, the cause can be identified. In others, the cause is just not known. Epilepsy is not a mental illness, a psychiatric disorder, infectious or contagious, none of those. It's a physical condition characterized by unusual electrical activity in the brain. International Epilepsy Day, which is marked annually around the world on the 10th of February, aims to inform young and old of the misconceptions regarding epilepsy and to stimulate conversations in the workplace, the homes and school about the condition. Well, in studio with us, we've got Epilepsy SA's Northwest Director, Solly Mokgata. Solly, thank you for coming in. It's a pleasure to have you here in studio with us.
It's a pleasure to be here and nice to be in touch with the viewers.
Indeed, and to speak about such an important issue. So, I mean, we've given a little bit of an overview of what we interpret epilepsy to be, but let's perhaps get a proper definition from you as to what epilepsy is.
Yeah, epilepsy is a condition that, comes about because of a malfunction in the, I think, chemistry in the brain. And it manifests itself, through certain actions, and there is different types of epilepsies depending on, the origin of that, malfunction. And it is a condition that, over time, medical people can be able to identify and obviously find, treatment for it. But obviously, it is a very scary a condition that actually generates a lot of stigma. So the biggest problem that people with epilepsy or people that are living with epilepsy have, it's stigma. Yeah. Stigma actually is the thing that prevents them from access to education, access to life, and actually makes them, to ultimately be regarded as disabled, when in actual fact, with knowledge and insight, people can actually find treatment.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, you touch on a very important point about the stigma associated to it, because I suppose if you're not aware what's going on, I mean, there are many different kinds of seizures that people have and many different triggers, but if you see somebody having an epileptic fit, it is very, very scary, and those that are unaware would imagine, what's going on? You and I were talking off air, and a lot of people may think that this person's been possessed or something weird is going on, more than just a medical condition. But this is not the case. So perhaps you want to dispel some myths around epilepsy first.
Yeah, look at the epilepsy, as I say, it's a condition that happens. It's episodic. There is instances where you find that it continues, several, which needs, medical intervention. Most of the time when a person is experiencing a seizure, with insight, they've got to be put into a position where they are, safe. We need to avoid tampering with their mouth, because what people tend to do is want to hold them tight, and to prevent sometimes the shaking of the body and so on. And then also to...
So you shouldn't hold them tight, is that what you're saying?
Well, look, they need to be in a comfortable position, where they avoid, for instance, injuring themselves further, and also avoid, tampering with their mouth.
Because I know people tend to want to put maybe a spoon in the mouth or something to prevent them from swallowing their tongue. So are you saying, again, that's something you shouldn't do?
That we shouldn't do at all. In fact, it's the biggest danger is that you, as the person putting yourself into the mouth, you can injure yourself, but also you can further, cause injury. I mean, and other people want to pull out the tongue, hoping that, because the person would bite the tongue, but that can be healed. But, the consequence of putting objects into the mouth might be more severe than actually just making sure the person is in a comfortable position. There is clear passage of air, lie them on the side, and then make sure that, they are, in a comfortable state.
How do you know if somebody is having an epileptic fit? I mean, if you're not sure, if you don't know that the person has epilepsy and you start seeing something happening, how do you know that this is a seizure but related to epilepsy?
Yeah. seizures are different. You do have those people that have an episodic, moment where they black out.
Yeah.
But they continue with life, so you would not even see. I mean, over the weekend we had an indaba at which, a psychiatrist explained the different types of seizures. And, what was actually interesting is that she says that, she narrated a story of one person that came and said, I had only 2 seizures, but on inquiry, when they actually put him on an ECG machine, they realized that he actually had many, but it was those episodes where you just black out for a moment and you continue.
Yeah.
But then the most commonly recognized is the one where the person has got a body reaction, and they actually either shake, and become sometimes aggressive.
Yeah.
And those are the most commonly known, and they are quite scary.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is to be able to calm the person down, put them in a safe place, and make sure that the airways are clear and so on.
So may I ask you, I mean, if you're in that situation, I'm going to get to all the questions about how you get it and all of that, but I just want to wrap this up. If somebody is having an epileptic fit, you've told us what to do, how to help them, how to assist them. Can you die while having an epileptic fit? I mean, is it, if you're not helped in any way, if you don't, obviously harming yourself is one of the biggest problems, or something with your mouth or whatever you were explaining to us, but can a person get over it very quickly if you have the right people around you to assist you?
Yeah. Look, on average, if you're getting attention, you will be, safe from it. I think there is a misconception around that, when a seizure happens, a person would obviously die. There is circumstances where a seizure happens, where there is no help around you, for instance, to do what I suggested, to be able to put a person in a safe place and so on. There is also instances where you find that for whatever reason, the seizures could be continuous and quite tragic, and the person doesn't get intervention quickly, and it could lead to a fatality.
So it's good to get medical help as quickly as possible? Well,
it's good to be, given help, as I say, to be safe.
Okay.
Because in some instances, a seizure will happen and it will pass but if the seizures are continuous, and rapid in a short time, definitely you'll have to have medical intervention. I think the biggest problem is the fact that, if you look at it in that way, that, it's something that will lead to death. That's why people with, epilepsy have got challenges around access to employment and so on, because ultimately everybody fears that if I have this person on board. So that's why I say that stigma is the biggest problem.
Indeed.
And with more insight, people can understand that you would have an episode which will pass, but if it is an extreme episode like many other conditions, you would need medical intervention.
So I'm going to fire some quick shots at you because I know we don't have time. We've got to wrap up soon. What happens? Am I born with epilepsy? Is it something that is genetic, or is it something that I develop, and why would I develop it?
Well, largely, there is epilepsy that is actually, it comes about because of, high heat, high temperatures, especially in children, which medical people would be able to identify and be able to try and manage. Most of the people, for instance, like, as I say, we had an indaba, a personal account of a young person that had seizures, but at some point they actually subsided, to re-emerge again later on in life. Yeah. So it does happen that, from birth, because of a condition like high temperature, a person has seizures. Others is through trauma, in a motor vehicle accident, or, trauma to the head, because it impacts on the brain. Somehow or the other, the person might develop seizures, All those episodes, ultimately, over time, they would actually be, monitored and, understood, and the person can be able to live normal lives. And there is instances where you're finding that, no particular cause one can put their finger on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, this can happen to anybody at any age.
Yes.
At any age.
It can happen at any age, and particularly, I think the most troubling is where you are having these with young people, children and young people.
Problem.
Yeah.
And in terms of medication and treatment, there is available treatment?
There is available treatment. I think our biggest challenge in our advocacy program is around making that available to everybody. The biggest challenge is that, as you know, medical services are not easily accessible. So we're advocating as an organization for access to treatment and medication at all costs. Yeah.
All right. Solly, thank you. I wish I had more time to even talk about triggers, but I'm going to ask you in the break about those triggers. Okay. Maybe I can pass them on. Epilepsy SA Northwest Director Solly Mokgata talking to us about epilepsy.